Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm just going to do a little quick video here just to get a little information on these old two-strokes, what they do sometimes, and it almost seems like the end of the world when it's really not that big a deal at all. Anyway, I want to say welcome to all my new subscribers. Thanks for subscribing. I hope I can help you out some, and thanks for all the subscribers who have been with me for a while. So this one, probably heard the term before. You know, Johnson and Evinrude, they're basically the same motor, the same company, OMC, Outboard Motor Corporation. And so you can take parts off of Johnson and put them on an Evinrude and vice versa, because they're virtually the same engine, just different paint most of the time, if the models are the same. In other words, a 35 Johnson and a 35 Evinrude, you can, of the same year, you can pretty much swap everything. So but anyway, this is one what I refer to as a Jonny-Rude. Some people call them frankin-Rudes and stuff like that. But it's one that I actually put together for a fella 2-3 years ago. And he used it for a year or two, and then he just parked his boat and for whatever reason didn't use it for quite a while. And he decided he wanted to sell the boat and so forth, so he went out there to, you know, just clean it up and start the engine and get it going, spruce it up a little bit so he could sell it. Well, when he got out there, he went to start the engine, pulled on the cord, and it was all locked up and seized. And he's like, oh no, you know, he said it never been submerged or nothing. But the point I'm trying to make is these old two-strokes, if they're used in heavy salt water and stuff, they will do that. If you run them in salt water, don't flush them, don't fog them, and put them away correctly, those old pistons will seize right up in the cylinder. Most of the time, if that was the case, you just gotta put some penetrating oil in there, maybe let it set overnight, come back with a breaker bar, work it back and forth, and get it rotating again. And so that's what I did with this engine, and then I'm going to take it the rest away and get it started up. I noticed there was a couple of bolts missing off the intake cover. I don't know what that was about, but anyway, so I'm just kind of doing a wake up on it and bring it back to life. I think it'll be fine. It wasn't seized real hard. I didn't have to use a pipe or anything. I just used a regular sized breaker bar and got her going back and forth. And then what I do, and I'll show you this operation, is I got this big heavy old Milwaukee drill. I put the socket on the top nut, on the flywheel nut, and I get them spinning really good and fast. And while I'm doing that, I can do the spark check. So I have my spark checker hooked up. I have my big heavy drill there, and I'll show you the engine in question. So here's the setup with my big old Milwaukee drill. I've got it set right there to the flywheel nut, and then I got my spark checker over here. And so I'll try not to shake you too bad. So there's my spark checker. So let's see if I can find a way of doing this. But anyway, what I mean by Jonny-Rude is, you can see this has the Johnson white seahorse paint on it. But if you look there, that tiller handle is obviously off of a Evinrude. The lower unit is off a year or two earlier or later green Johnson. The shift handle is off that green Johnson. I believe it's a much earlier year than this. Yeah, so I kind of just hodgepodge this thing together a few years ago because I had the parts to do it. And so when I do that, it becomes a Jonny-Rude or whatever else you want to call it. I took the plugs out, and you see the spark plug wires are hooked to my spark checker. And I'll try and do this one-handed, and you can see really good hot spark, and you can also see so she's got good hot poppy spark. The flywheel turns over pretty nice. Now, after some fluid. So, if you have one that's been sitting a while and it has not been submerged, it's just been run in salt water and it's been sitting and you go out to pull it and it's just stuck, normally that's not a catastrophe. Get you some good penetrating fluid. My favorite inside of cylinders, anything internal engine, is Tri-Flow. This also is an excellent two-stroke starting fluid, so to speak, pop starter I call it. It's really flammable and it does a real good job because it has oil in it. So you don't want to be using straight ether and regular car starting fluid in a 2-cycle. Use this or something very similar. This pop starts them really good. It has the oil in it, so you're not going to hurt the engine, and it'll help bring them back or wake them up, as I call it. So I'm going to screw a compression checker in there real quick, and so I'll be out of the screen, but I want to get this. And this is a good way to do a compression check with that electric drill because it gets them spinning over real good. So I'm just going to turn you. You won't be able to see the reading, but I'll bring it over to you. Alright, so you can see my drill and setup and so forth. Alright, I got my compression tester in there. Hopefully you can see it. And let's get a reading. This is in the top cylinder. You can say she shook pretty good, so there's some compression there. And if you look at that, I don't know if you can see it, but I can bring it over and let you see it. Hopefully that'll focus. It's 120. Well, actually about 117 or so. So that's top cylinder. Bleed that off. Let's do the bottom real quick. Having a hard time here. We'll get it. Okay. All right. Again, I'll give her a good spin. Okay. See what we got? Okay, again, you're looking at around 115. So you're getting 117 top, 115 or so on the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, about 110 on the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. So you're looking at 117 top, 110 on the bottom. That's not bad. So there's your compression. At the same time I was doing that compression test there, I still have my spark checker hooked up. That's how I generally do a FACS check, fuel, air, compression, time, and spark. I hook everything up just like that. I take the plugs out, hook up my spark checker, put it into the coils, get a compression tester screwed into the cylinder, then I either pull it over if it's a small engine, or I get my big Milwaukee and I spin it over real good and get a good reading on it. So what's left there is basically timing and fuel, and for the timing on this, I don't see that anything's changed since I sold it to him. So instead of messing with that, I'll just go ahead on the fuel system. I could just hook a fuel hose to it right now and give it a test, and I probably will do that, but I got to put the recoil starter back on, and I like to lube them up as long as I got it off. So let's get back over here. So what we're going to do at this point is I'll stop the video. I'll get this all set up, and the plugs back in, the recoil greased up, lubed up, put back on, lube the linkage on the carburetor and stuff, and hook the plugs back up, and at this point we'll be ready for a test run on it. And once I get it set up, I'll come back and we'll see how it works. Okay, I got the old Jonny-Rude 35 all back together, and went about like I thought it would. I did have to clean out the carburetor and put it back on. I knew it as soon as I put the hose on it and tried to squeeze the bulb, no fuel would go in, so it meant the bowl wasn't filling up and so forth. So, but anyway, just did a real quick clean. I just took the bowl off, cleaned it, unstuck everything. It wasn't that bad in there, and put her back together, and I felt the gas go in that time, and she started right up. So it took a few pulls to get her to go, probably 4 or 5 pulls before she popped, and then once I got her going, it wasn't peeing out of the P tube there, so I took compressed air with my little compressed air gun, and it has a kind of a pointed tip on it, and I put that in the hole and give it a blast, and it started dripping. Gave it another blast, she started peeing. And that's kind of typical as well for these old salty ones. They get salt in those passages and stuff, and you got to kind of blow it out of there. So anyway, got her going, and we'll give her a run. And first I'll give you the walk. There's the Jonny-Rude, Evinrude tiller, Evinrude shifter, and so we got her all put back together, and we'll give her a run now. Try to get the light on it. A little better. That probably helped a little bit. All right, so squeeze the bulb. Okay, so she's up and running anyway. If you notice, quite smoky, and the reason for that is when I'm waking one of these engines up, first I've shot all that tri-flow and everything into the cylinders, and then also the carb when I took it apart and cleaned it. But also, I have a special tank down here, just a regular 6-gallon fuel tank. I have it mixed 30 to 1. because these engines, like I said, this one came in and it was weather seized. So I want a lot of oil in there. All this engine really needs now is to be taken out and having a good fresh tank of gas with 50-to-1 mix, TCW3. That's very important for marine engines. TCW3 oil, your brand, whatever brand you like, Yamaha, Triple Guard OMC, Chevron, whatever 2-cycle you like, mix it 50-to-1 on these mid-80s, early 70s through mid-80s, 30s, 35s, 25s. You want it 50-to-1, TCW3, good. I recommend premium gas. That's what the manual states to use in OMCs. So that's what this thing needs now, is just to be taken out and really run good, and whole tank of nice fresh gas and oil through it, and she'll be good to go from that point. So we got her up and going. I can call the owner down, he can come get her, and so forth. So thanks for watching.